And good morning, everyone, and welcome to your favourite show of the week. Ha-ha! Small Biz Matters, the half-hour program where you work on your business rather than in it. My name is Alexi Boyd, your faithful and true host, here to talk to you this week all about over-volunteerism. Now, my close family and friends, and particularly anybody I've spoken to in the last 4 weeks, would probably recognise a good word to describe what I've been through in the last period of time, which is over-volunteerism. It's the whole putting your hand up, doing too much, overextending yourself, driving yourself into the ground, burning the candle at both ends, as my dad likes to say, and just working too damn hard in general, not to mention volunteering all that extra spare time you sometimes don't even have for things that are not relating to your business or family. We'll get to that in a minute. I just thought I'd cover a couple of really, really important community and service announcements first. Of course, I wanted to mention Mount Wilga Hospital have got they're doing a annual April Falls Day events all this month, which is great. The themes is falls prevention in everyone's business. Now, I think this is particularly pertinent when talking about small business because we often underinsure ourselves. We often don't think about falls in the workplace as being the same as if we were fully employed and covered by workers' comp. We do, of course, cover ourselves for workers' comp if we are on payroll, but how many of you out there are sole traders and don't actually have any insurance for yourselves? So it's actually a very pertinent piece of information for small biz. And Mount Wilga are committed to involving everyone in the care of the older person and, you know, us too, us small biz owners, with active participation from all family members. So I thought it would be interesting for perhaps Sarah Collinson from Mount Wilga Hospital is going to come and join us next week to talk all about this very important issue and talking about falls, April Fool's Day. So Mount Wilga Hospital are having events all of this week from the 4th to the 8th of April. Information stand in the main centre of the hospital, providing information flyers on how to reduce the falls, either in the home or out and about in the local community. This is centred for the older people in our community. So if you do have any family or friends that you're looking after or keeping an eye on, this might be really, really useful for you. Perhaps falls preventions, what you can do in and around their personal space to make sure that you can alleviate the chances for falls. And community service and engagement on falls prevention can assist in ensuring the elderly members of all of our community can live safely and independently. So if you need more information on this particular April Fool's Day event, which is held at Mount Wilga Hospital all this week, you can get in touch with Sarah Collinson, Occupational Therapy Manager, on 9847 5301. Also, everyone, I want to draw your attention to the very sad news that blighted our community. In fact, the whole of Hornsby, I know, is reeling from this news that the lovely, wonderful, very important community organisation Studio Arts suffered a horrendous loss over the weekend with a fire in an adjoining business in the pool shop on Jersey Street, Hornsby. Has really devastated their premises. I've seen photos. There is water damage. They have lost a lot of stock. They have lost a lot of artwork. They've lost almost their entire office space. They're not able to access their offices because the building is structurally unsound. It's really devastating for them. As a community organisation, we all know how important Studio Arts is to Hornsby and to the greater community and the service that they provide for all of us, not just for those clients that benefit directly. I know there's a lot of pollies out there and members of the community who are really concerned. So if you'd like to do something, they are, of course, doing a fire appeal via their website at Studio Arts. You can go to their website and donate. If everybody who's listening today donates just $20, that's hundreds and hundreds. Well, what the hell? It's thousands of dollars that can go towards rebuilding and refurbishing and perhaps even, finding entirely new premises, depending on how bad the damage is. So our hearts and our thoughts go out to the Studio Arts family today. I know when I say Studio Arts family, I mean the entire of Hornsby. So best of luck, guys. And if you are listening, please pledge even just a few dollars. Every little bit helps to donate. A special thanks to Hornsby RSL and the council who have jumped to the opportunity to help and providing premises and resources to Studio Arts in an instant when they needed it for this week's activities. So please go to Studio Arts website and make even just a small donation. That would be greatly appreciated. Right, onto the show today. We are talking on Small Biz Matters all about overextending yourself and burning the candle at both ends. And my mother always said, if you wanted something done, ask a busy person. I think that's pretty much how she's always operated in both business and in family life, always whizzing around, totally efficient, totally organised, everything in its place. Every minute of the day has something allocated to it, and just a really feisty, fabulous person and an inspiration in my life. And it has basically been how I've tried to operate over the last month now. Lots of my family members and, in fact, the greater community would know that I'm quite involved with the Hornsby North P&C Association. We had our autumn fair on the 12th of March, and I am going to be very coy here and say that it ate my life. Completely overwhelmed me this year. It's the third time that I've done it, but I do largely do all of the overseeing and the coordination myself. There isn't a committee, and that's been a problem. I'm sure a lot of people involved in community organisations know how difficult it is to find volunteers, and often it does fall down to that one person to, it's the one person who suffers the most because they are the one taking it all on. And I have to admit that one of the reasons why I did take it all on was because I felt that I would do the best job possible, possibly even better than anybody else, which is a bit rude. But I think what needs to be said is that you don't have to take it on just because you feel that nobody else is going to take it on. Someone will put their hand up, and hey, the world is not going to end if this particular event doesn't go ahead. So I'm going to push on with a couple of tips and tricks for those of you like me who are always putting their hand up, always wanting to help out, always wanting to volunteer and do work for the community because you can see the value in it. And particularly when it comes to your children's school, you can see the specific value because your kids are benefiting from that fundraising. They're the ones who are getting access to the iPads, the air conditioning, the shade cloths, all the things that the government won't provide to schools that P&C's more and more having to fundraise for. And you can see the benefit directly for your kids. So it makes sense to volunteer and it makes sense to help out and be one of those people who puts their hand up. The trick is not to be one of those people that puts both hands, both feet and their entire life forward to be taken over. And I'm just sharing with you that experience today because I want to impart some knowledge on how to not get caught in the trap of offering to do too much. As small business owners, we do juggle a lot. We juggle our small business. And for those of you who don't own a small business, I don't mean to sound in any way patronising, but it is all-consuming because there's always something you can do. Simple as that. Often people, when they leave their jobs, not so much nowadays because everyone's got access to their emails and possibly even their work from home. They work from home. But when you operate a small business, there is always marketing. There was always, advertising thoughts. There's always ways of trying to tap into clients and think about it. It's constantly on your mind. It's not something that you ever walk away from. So I think one thing as a small business owner we need to be conscious of is trying to allocate time specifically for that business. And then, of course, there's family as well. More and more these days, it's both parents being equally involved with sporting activities, after school care, before school care, making lunches, all the stuff that goes involved with young children and getting them ready for school and for extracurricular activities. And I don't think it's fair enough to say any more than it's just the mum who does that. No way. I think more and more families, it's pretty equal with who does what, although the women are a little bit more efficient. Did I say that? No. Anyway, but it is a juggle. We've already got so much on our plates with having a small business. And so when you add in extra hours for volunteerism, it's very important that you take it carefully with what you're opting to do. Firstly, when you're offered or you begin to become more involved with a community organisation, and they're obviously going to ask you to do something. You don't just sort of rock up to the meetings just so you can be, a pair of listening ears. You're there to help. And you've got to be very clear on what it is that they're asking you to do. So they might say, hey, we've got an event coming up. Do you want to do it? That's pretty vague. The first thing you need to find out is, has anyone done this before, number one? And if they have, can I get access to them and all of their materials? And can I even have a sit-down coffee chat with them to find out what was involved? If it hasn't been done before, you need to sit down and assess with the president of that organisation what it is that they want to do and try and work out how many hours it's going to take. It's very tricky when you're doing it for a first time. I was lucky enough with the Autumn Fair to take over from someone who was very knowledgeable and had been doing it for years, and I in turn hope to give someone else that information. But if you're taking it on from scratch, you really need to sit down and work out how long you think it's going to take you. Lead-in times are really important. You need to treat any event that you're taking part in as though it's a project with work. So if you were taking on a client project, you would sit down and you'd allocate a certain amount of time to the brief and to working out what the quote is, a certain amount of time to chasing the client, a certain amount of time to doing the work, and a certain amount of time for the admin after the work for maybe invoicing, etc. That is a very clear-cut customer relationship management system that you have in your head. You need to approach anything volunteerism in the same way. It needs to be a step-by-step process. Even if it's as simple as meet with the person who used to do it or meet with the president you're going to be working with, then work out how much time it's going to take and then block it out. So the next important part is to work out, okay, so I've decided to take this event on and I've worked out it's going to be about 50 hours work. And that involves ringing around for, if you're going to try and get sponsors, for example, or perhaps you're, maybe if you're just trying to figure out how many hours it's going to take to get all your volunteers in the place for helping. So you need to allocate all the times for all the emails that are flying around. So you figured out all that. So say it's 50 hours for this one event and you've got 5 weeks. That's 10 hours a week. So your lead-in time is really important. I wouldn't be taking on anything that's brand new without a minimum of 3 months lead-in time. It's also very important when you take something on to find out, well, what sort of access have I got to other people to help me? Do they have a list of volunteers? I know, for example, the Hornsby Ku-ring-gai Women's Shelter has a bank of volunteers that they can draw on, they send out emails to, and they can ask for help. They can call on these people regularly, and they're used to getting those emails. Is that system already in place? Or is part of your job going to be finding volunteers? And let me tell you, if you're the sort of person that's very efficient at what you do, and you think that you can then give that to a school and you can run an event, great. Don't fall in the trap of having to find the volunteers as well. You need to almost outsource that to someone else in the organisation. Okay, I'll do it, but I need you to find me 10 volunteers, because that chasing down of people to get them to commit and get them to help you is very, very difficult. So you need to outsource that as a starting point. Also, as you're going along, make sure that you don't take on any more. So say, for example, you're halfway through the task, it's going along nicely, you've met a couple of times with the president, and you're telling them what you're doing, and everything seems to be going quite well. You've locked in your supplies, you've locked in your venue, you've locked in your date, you've even got some volunteers who are guaranteed to help you on the day. Excellent. Don't then go, oh, you know what, why don't we do this as well? Especially not the first time that you've done something. Just get it right the first time. Next year, if you feel confident and comfortable with it, make it bigger and better. Also be proud of the fact that you're doing this one thing. Just because you're doing one thing doesn't mean you should try and take on everything. Yes, you're an efficient person. Yes, you can get stuff done. Yes, you're a go-getter, blah, 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 blah. It doesn't mean you're a go-getter to do everything. So stick to your guns. Say, okay, I'm going to do this, but I'm not doing anything else for the rest of the year. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it well. It's going to be fabulous. It's going to be fantastic. I'm going to do my absolute best, but I'm not doing anything else for the rest of the year. Then they know that they've got you locked in for that one event. It's really important that organisations make sure that their volunteers and their event organisers feel supported. So as you go through the process, if you're realising that the people who are meant to be helping you are not actually responding to emails, that bank of volunteers that you asked for isn't actually happening, you're really struggling and you really are, okay, yes, you're doing it all yourself, but you also feel completely unsupported, maybe that's not the right event for you to do the following year if it keeps continuing that way. And there's a certain risk that you take when you have an air of confidence about you and an attitude of, I'm just going to do this all myself, leave me alone, I'll get it done, just leave me alone, it'll happen. Now that's very dangerous because people will leave you alone. You've asked them to not disturb you and to not help you because you think you're so fabulous, you got to get it done. You need to keep the doors open so you can ask for help. And you need to have somebody supporting you. When I mean supporting you, they are watching what you're doing. They're keeping an eye on it. They're making sure that things are tracking properly and keeping, on the right timelines so that the event actually happens. And that's what a good organisation should support you with. They should give you the volunteers. They should support you through being able to call someone if you need help, so such as the president if there's nobody else. And they should also be tracking your progress to see how you're going because let's face it, without you doing it, the event might not happen, but without the support, you're not going to be able to achieve it. So we're talking today on Small Biz Matters all about over-volunteerism and extending yourself because, as my mother always says, if you want something done, ask a busy person. And who better to ask than someone who owns a small business and is super efficient at doing that. I thought we'll take a quick break today and listen to some of our supporting announcements. We'll come back and check on the weather and the traffic and the trains, and then I'll give you a few more tips and tricks about how to just make sure that you don't overextend yourselves and burn out. We'll be right back on Small Biz Matters 100.1 FM. Welcome to Small Biz Matters. You're listening to Triple H 100.1 FM. Small Biz Matters, a half-hour program where you work on your business rather than in it, and it's proudly supported, of course, by Snap, Waitara and Boyd Office Management Services, proud supporters of Triple H. Let's keep a quick check. Let me just go over to my computer. Quick check of the weather and the traffic. The trains are looking pretty okay, all normal service. More importantly, on the North Shore, Northern and Western Line, which affects us mostly here in the Upper North Shore. The Sydney forecast today is 27 and sunny. Yes, blue skies out the window. I can check my real-life computer. Wednesday, tomorrow, maximum of 29 and sunny. Thursday, possible shower, 24. Friday, shower or two, 23. Saturday, shower or two, 24. And Sunday, much the same. Mostly sunny, 26. So today and tomorrow is your washing the line days, and don't use those evil dryers. Live traffic reports. Let's quick check. There is, of course, emergency roadworks following a very nasty car accident yesterday at Linfield, Eastern Arterial Road and Tryon Road. Heavy traffic conditions in both directions. One of two southbound lanes are affected. There is a utility company and various RMS, etc., on the scene to support drivers. So just avoid that area altogether after a very nasty car accident last night. Let's check as well very quickly. We'll come back to that at the end of the show, actually. I'll come to the end and we'll talk about the events that are happening this week. A couple of really exciting networking events to make you aware of. Now, today we're talking all about over-volunteerism and overextending yourself, and just a few tips and tricks on how you can avoid doing too much. Now, I'm absolutely by no means assuming or suggesting that people should not be volunteering. That is a big no-no, at the risk of sounding a little bit poncy. I do believe that everyone can find 4 hours a month to support your local community. And here in Hornsby, I must say, very proud to be a relatively newcomer to Hornsby. I've only been here 5 or 6 years, but very impressed with the amount of volunteerism. There is bush care, there is studio arts, there is Hornsby Ku-ring-gai Women's Shelter, there is Rotary and Lions Clubs, which are very active in the local community. There is P&C out the wazoo. There's heaps of sporting clubs. We've got so many beautiful open spaces and ovals to access that the sporting clubs are just fabulous. So there's lots of opportunities for you to volunteer. Put your hand up. A couple of hours a month is all you're asked. Turn a couple of sausages on the barbie. Maybe put together some raffle tickets or something for the local community. Sell some stuff. Whatever it is that you do, just remember that your kids are watching you and how you behave in your local community. And if you want your children to grow up to be giving, supportive citizens and working together in a community that supports one another, then you kind of need to lead by example. I'll just get off my pedestal now. But today we're talking all about overextending yourself and basically running yourself into the ground. More importantly for small businesses, running yourself, your business and your family into the ground. And that's a very important thing that we need to be aware of, is that your time is already stretched between your business and your family, and it is overstretched as it is. You need to be very conscious, if you're going to put your hand up and help, how many hours have you got time to spare? Now, a lot of you are going to sit there and go, I got nothing. I got nothing. I got no time to spare at all. Really? A couple of hours here and there? I'm sure you can find that. But if you're going to put your hand up and offer to do something like an event, you need to be very clear on what's involved and how many hours involved. Once you've taken it on and you know that you're going to be supported, and you know that you've got someone to hand over from, you need to create a schedule and work out when it is that in your life you have the most spare time. Now, sadly and tragically, the most spare time I have is on a Saturday night and on a Sunday night. So that was when I tended to do all of my work for the autumn fair. And you need to work out and allocate times to do it, because if you're not, the time that you take to do those things are going to trickle into your business time and trickle into your family time, and you're going to get stressed. And you're going to turn into a dragon woman like I did for the last 4 weeks for my poor, poor suffering family. So make sure that you are allocating time to this event. I'm just using an event as an example, but make sure that you're actually allocating the time specifically in your week, and that's the time that you've got. And if you don't get it done then, remember the world is not going to end. If for some reason you need to switch between commitments, okay, so I'll give you my example. 2 weeks before the fair, I realised that my business, which is as a bookkeeper, it was bass season, plus the normal shenanigans of running a household and having a family, and the autumn fair were going to come crashing in together in a spectacular fashion. And I didn't see it coming because I'm an idiot. And I didn't really see and didn't remember, even though I've been doing this event for 3 years, I forgot the amount of time it took, and that the majority of the time was 2 to 3 weeks before the fair, not the day before, not the week before, but a few weeks before, which collided directly with bass season. So I literally had to go shut down on the fair. And the best way to do this, and thank you to my husband for suggesting this, was to put an out-of-office reply on my emails relating to the fair. So I've got my business emails and my personal emails split. They're completely different systems. I've got one lot on Apple Mail, Mac Mail, I should say, and I've got my business on Outlook, and then I've got a couple of other email accounts. So I keep things very separate. So I put an out-of-office reply onto everything that was personal, therefore everything that was fair. And the out-of-office reply read, I need to focus on my business for the next 5 days. I will return to this email account in 5 days' time. Don't give them the option to call you. Don't give them the option that if in case of emergency, this is not an emergency, this is a fair, this is an event, a community event. Remember that your business must take priority. And that was the most sensible thing that I did this year. And guess what? It was fine. The whole thing didn't fall over. I didn't get 5 days behind. Yes, I had a few emails to read when I got back, something like 200 or 300 in 5 days. But at least I had made it clear to those people who are trying to get hold of me regarding the fair that this is what would happen and this is the timelines that got pushed out of place. And funnily enough, nobody yelled at me. Nobody had a lack of understanding as to why that was. It was fine. It was actually really, really fine. So out-of-office replies are great. Don't forget with your out-of-office, you can often put parameters around those. So you could maybe put if the subject line contains the word autumn fair, if anything in the body of the email contains the word fair. So if it's something quite specific and you're using an email account for two separate things, and it's okay, you can still possibly set the parameters for that. But just remember, people are very understanding and they know if you run your own business that is what has to take priority and they understand that. So I got through bass season. I nearly killed myself. I had to work basically for those 5 days. I worked for about 15 or 16 hours a day just to get it done, which scared the absolute living daylights out of me because I realised that the fair really had completely collided with my business like it never had before. And that's another point to remember is that year on year, businesses do take on a cyclical nature. And it's really important that you start to understand if you've been going for 2 or 3 or 4 years as a business, when are my high points of busyness and when are my low points? So don't do what I did and take on an event that is going to collide with one of the busiest times for your business of the year. So obviously with being a bookkeeper, it is cyclical. Every 3 months I've got a whole bunch of basses to do for my clients, plus all of the normal client work in between. So to take on an event knowing that 2 or 3 weeks before the event was bass season and 2 or 3 weeks before the event was the busiest time of the event and all the organisation was crazy. And if I had foresight, then maybe I would have organised it differently. I'm not saying I wouldn't have taken on the event. I'm saying that I would have got myself a little bit more organised and pushed everything forward or pushed everything back just so it wouldn't collide. So it's very important that you understand the cyclical nature of your business and therefore you can know when the best time is to take on an event. In fact, if you're beginning to get active within a community organisation, for example, and you know that June, July, end of financial year, people aren't really doing much. They're waiting for next year's budgets, for example, before they start spending again, and maybe all you're doing is just quoting, for example. That's a good time to offer to do something. You go to the beginning of the year and you go, hey guys, June, July is a pretty quiet time for me. I'm happy to do something then. And then it's up to the organisation to come and find something for you to do. So make sure you analyse your business and when it is that you can take time on and try not to make sure that everything just crashes in together like I did. The last thing I'd like you to be aware of is actually looking after yourself. It's really, really important. If you were, training for a marathon, you wouldn't start eating garbage food, and you wouldn't stop sleeping, and you wouldn't increase your stress levels to out the wazoo. You just wouldn't do that. You've got to treat these events as a real pinnacle of stress and overwork and tiredness. So you must look after yourself at this time. Updose the vitamins. Go and see a naturopath and get some sort of herbal concoction that's going to get you through it. Make sure you sleep well. So one little tip I would say is if when you're organising these things and you've got so many things running around your head, have a little note paper next to your bed with a pen so that even in the dark, if you think of something, you can jot it down, because it's really important that of the most important things that happen is that you get sleep, because the worst thing that can happen is for you to get sick just before this event. And we all know we're not daft. If you decrease your sleep, increase your stress levels and start eating garbage, then you are going to get sick, guaranteed. And this is the worst possible time that it can happen, because you're not only letting your business down and your family down, you could potentially let a volunteer organisation down as well. So that would be very important as well. And the last point is be kind to yourself. Don't put too much pressure on yourself by saying, I've got to do this, it's got to be done right, it's got to be done to a level of perfectionism which is insane. Who cares if the raffle tickets don't get out as part of the autumn fair? It's no big deal. You don't break yourself so that you are therefore unavailable ever again, or even worse, you get put off ever doing any sort of volunteer activity ever again. It's a real risk, I think people take when they are doing volunteerism. They take on too much, they get burned, they don't feel supported, they don't ask for help, they stuff it up, they get sick, whatever it is, and then they never touch volunteerism again. Absolute disaster. So make sure that you're kind to yourself. You are doing the best job that you can in the circumstances at this time. Different time, different place, different city, whatever. It might be a different kettle of fish. Everything might go fine. But for now, it's very important for you to note that you're doing your best at the time, and you're doing a great job. You are actually doing a great job, and you're doing a great thing by volunteering, because it's people like you that really keep communities like Hornsby together. Now, if you'd like to sort of take a little bit more information in about this subject, I am actually, this is part of a Monthly Chronicle article. So as my regular listeners will know, we now feature in the Monthly Chronicle each month with an article generally about small business and supporting small business and tips and tricks. So if you'd like to read more about today's subject, the Monthly Chronicle will be out midway through this month. I believe the published date is the 14th of April. So keep an eye on Letterbox and local places like RSLs and newsagents and places like that. If you haven't got a copy, by all means, let us know here at Small Biz Matters. And it's also available on the website for Monthly Chronicle website as well. So a big thanks to them for supporting a great community organisation, which is Triple H 100.1 FM. So we're going to finish up the show today. I hope that you've taken away a few tips and tricks about overextending and putting your hand up too many times. I'm absolutely not saying no. I'm just saying don't kill yourself for the sake of one event. And just be kind to one another and really look after each other. If you know someone is helping out with an event, offer to help maybe just for an hour here or there. You know, if you need me, I'm here. These are the days that I can help, blah, blah, blah. Right, I'm going to stop rabbiting on now. You've listened to Small Biz Matters, the half-hour program where you work on your business rather than in it. You're with Triple H 100.1 FM. I will see you all next week, Tuesday, 9 a.m, to talk a little bit more about April Fool's Day events at Mount Wilga Hospital. And don't forget to jump on the Studio Arts website and support them with just a few dollars. Every little bit helps for their fire appeal after such a tragic event. We wish them all well. You're listening to Triple H 100.1 FM. Important. I didn't talk about the networking events that are coming on this week. Sorry, everyone. I did promise we would talk about those. So just a quick shout out to the usual BNI groups that occur in and around the Hornsby area. There's, of course, the Ensign group at West Pennant Hills at the Pennant Hills Pub on Friday morning starting at 6:45. You're welcome to drop in as a visitor. All this information can be found on the BNI website, by the way. There is a BNI at Camaray, and of course the wellness hubs are on Tuesday and Wednesday this week. You can check those out at the Wellness Hubs Australia if you're part of the wellness naturopath, natural chiropractic. I don't know, how do you describe those things in general? Alternative medicines, that's the word I'm thinking of. If you're one of those businesses, it is a really wonderful place to get some information, etc. Of course, the wonderful team at Abbey Practice have got another one of their great workshops, free workshops here in Hornsby. Abbey Practice is located on George Street. You can check out their details. I think there's some spaces still available for this one. Money Matters for Women today, 12 till 2, also provided with a free lunch. And it's a really great little bit of a networking opportunity, but also a really great workshop. I attended this one last year, and it is all about superannuation for women, budgeting, insurance. It's a great seminar, 2 hours. It's free, and it's put on by the team at Abbey Practice. Of course, I need to let you know about a great networking event this Thursday, 6:45 till 9 at the Green Gate, the Green Gate Hotel at Killara. The Building Business Group. Did I get that right? BBG. Building Business Group. Yeah, that's right. Building Business Group, a great little networking group that meet every Thursday. They are having their visitors breakfast. It's always well attended. The cost is only $40, and you can jump onto their website at Building Business and book tickets through their website there. Excellent opportunity for networking and finding out a little bit more about this networking group. There is also a business breakfast group this morning. Actually, it's already been and gone because it's already 9:30. But the first Tuesday of every month, the Business Breakfast Group, they meet at Barowra. That's a lot of B's. They meet at Barowra Cafe at the end of the year. At the end of the day, sorry, I should say. Not the end of the day. What is wrong with me today? No, coffee hasn't kicked in yet. The beginning of the day. First Tuesday of every month, the Building Business Group at Barowra meet for coffee, and that's a very, very, very free event, just getting to know other businesses in the area, which is great. There is, of course, this evening, the Hornsby Chamber of Commerce. We have our first Tuesday of every month Business After Hours event. There will be the fabulous Jason Pryor talking all about wellness and health and mind and body and spirit at work, which we never, ever, ever think about as small business owners. That is tonight at Hornsby Rails between 6 and 8 p.m. If you need to book tickets, which you do need to book tickets in advance, or just advise that you're coming along, you can do that through the Hornsby Chamber of Commerce website. I think that's everything. So the Building Business Group is Thursday morning, 6:45 at the Green Gate Hotel at Killara with a breakfast. Excellent, excellent networking group. There's the Money Matters for Women workshop today at Abbey Practice between 12 and 2. And this evening there is, of course, the Business After Hours event as part of the Hornsby Chamber of Commerce, which if you're not a member, you should be, because it's a fabulous group and growing exponentially. We've now got 85 members, which is fantastic. So I just thought I'd raise that with everyone, let you know, and I hope you have a good week. Sorry to interrupt you, Belinda Carlisle there. You're a very, very special woman in my heart, but just not today. And I will see you all next week. Triple H 100.1 FM. You're listening to Small Biz Matters on today, at today and every Tuesday at 9 a.m. I'm going to go and finish my coffee now. You guys